Hey all, back with more Yu-Gi-Oh! I had to take a bit of a break, but today we will be focusing on the Dungeon Dice Monsters arc, which is a pretty short arc, and then Battle City, which is arguably the most famous story in the original Yu-Gi-Oh! As we open, life is returning to normal, and the two Yugis are now talking to each other, which Yugi's mom finds peculiar. Yeah, Yugi has a mom. Poor kid's cut her for some odd reason. Mr. Moto is back to his old self, but is frustrated because he now has competition. A new game shop. Yugi and Anzu check out the new game shop where they meet a clown. Yeah, this little development is kinda odd. As well as Ryuji Otogi, Duke Devlin in English. The guy wearing the clown mask is Ryuji's father, who wants revenge on Yugi's grandfather. We catch up with Yugi's friends. Fortunately, Shizuka's eyes will be restored, so that prize money is being put to good use. Ryuji is impressing the girls with his dice tricks, but Jinochi decides to challenge Ryuji to a game. Who cheats? Because that's what people do in this series, they cheat. Even when they're not supposed to be cheating. So the return to a more classic Yu-Gi-Oh! Story is welcome here. Jerk wrongs Yugi or one of his friends, and Dark Yugi emerges to give said jerk their just desserts. I don't think this is how the game works, but when is it ever? But that little precursor's out of the way, and it's time for the main event, Dungeon Dice Monsters. We get some more insight to Ryuji and his father's relationship, and it ain't exactly good. But despite that, they're all each other has, and what they want is revenge. Dungeon Dice Monsters comes out. But Ryuji's father takes the chance to steal Yugi's Millennium Puzzle. So now Yugi must play Dungeon Dice Monsters against Ryuji, without his other self. What this game shows is Yugi's growth. The last time he had the duel without his other self, he got absolutely stumped. Whereas here, he's putting up a much better fight. So Yugi's grandfather forced Ryuji's father to play a very cruel game. Or so it appears, because that doesn't seem like Mr. Moto. The game goes on with Yugi and Ryuji trading blows. But then Mr. Clown decides to get involved and he smashes the Millennium Puzzle. Well, that was unexpected. But an unlikely savior comes to Yugi's aid, Dark Bakura. Dark Bakura says that he is now a friend, which I don't think anyone could realistically believe since, look at him! Only Master Xehanort from Kingdom Hearts looks more evil. Well, he needs him and the Millennium Puzzle around, which hints at a grander plan he has in store. Meanwhile, Honda tells the others what's going on, and here they know Bakura is wearing the Millennium Ring again. Dark Bakura has a vaunted interest in waking the Pharaoh's memories. Interesting. Through the power of the pull-it-out-of-my-butt move, Yugi is able to win the game. Never fails. Of course, Dark Bakura's real reason is that he wants to make the Pharaoh's power his. Why exactly? What does he want? Well, that'll be a mystery for now. He does infect a piece of the puzzle with his power, which will come into play later. But Mr. Otogi won't take no for an answer and forces Yugi to play another game. Devil's Board Game, his way of taking revenge on Yugi's grandfather. Mr. Otogi tries to solve the puzzle, but the warnings were true. One unworthy to do so will fall into a labyrinth, and in his ignorance, a fire breaks out. Jinochi and the others arrive to save the day, and Mr. Otogi starts to see the error of his ways, as Yugi chose to still be kind to him. But Yugi won't leave without the puzzle, and Jinochi allows him to work on it while everyone else escapes. In the span of 10 minutes, Yugi is able to finish the entire puzzle. Well, adrenaline will do amazing things to a person. Jinochi finds Yugi still won't let go of the puzzle, but thanks to advice from Dark Yugi, he's able to do some quick thinking and escapes from fire in time. Everyone's okay, but Anzu wonders, what will happen when Yugi inevitably puts the Millennium Puzzle back in Egypt? It's there that we get our answer, as a patient shows Yugi an ad for an ancient Egyptian exhibit. It's funny how this segues into the next arc is totally absent in the anime. This woman named Shizu, who has a Millennium item around her neck, and speaking of which, she is presently meeting with Kaiba that night. Ishizu shows Kaiba the origin of duel monsters on a tablet of the Pharaoh, and the two figures on the tablet look just like Yugi and Kaiba. But Shizu introduces Kaiba to the three new monsters, the Egyptian gods, Obelisk, Osiris, or Slifer as it's called in English, because 4Kids decided to name it after one of the show's executive producers in English, and lastly, Ra. These cards were so powerful that Pegasus only made one of each. Pegasus buried the god cards so they could never be used, but the ghouls found them, called Rare Hunters in English. Shizu tells Kaiba to hold a tournament that will surely attract the ghouls to a large gathering of duelists, and gives him Obelisk to help lure them out. Of course, Kaiba decides that he will possess all three god cards and become the Duel King. What if a female gets them all? Wouldn't it be Duel Queen? Just observing. I don't know. The two Yugis are finally able to speak again. Dark Yugi confesses to Yugi. He has no idea where he comes from or what his name is, but maybe if they go there, they can find out. But doing so may cause them to part forever, and neither Yugi desires that. Meanwhile, Kaiba tests his new dual disc system. the more iconically known version of it. This is where the series tries to follow the Duel Monsters' real-life rules more closely since the game was coming out at the time. It does give an insight into Kaiba's thinking. He believes Yugi represents the past while he represents the future. Kaiba is able to defeat his Blue Eyes deck by playing Obelisk. Yeah, I'm guessing Ishiju knew Kaiba wasn't going to give the card back to her. Meanwhile, Dark Yugi is wondering, who am I? But he doesn't need to know. Things are fine the way they are. But Yugi sets up his other self with a date with Anzu. The way the anime did this was much funnier. Anzu points out to him that she understands what he's going through. She herself plans to move to America to chase her dream after graduation, but that Dark Yugi may himself leave when all is said and done. We get some more time to show off Anzu's skill, which is dancing. A bit of a difference from the anime where Dark Yugi just looks bored out of his mind. Here he seems to find the DDR game intriguing. Remember, he's supposed to be the king of games, not just a card game. Dark Yugi once again tells her how he wants to know who he is, but things are fine. But Anzu tells him that if he wants to find out who he is, he should follow his heart. Kaiba begins to gather Battle City duelists. A little change here. The English version has Kaiba disbelieve in magic no matter how much it's shown to be true, and it gets really ridiculous. Whereas here, it's actually supposed to be like, he knows it exists, it's more that he just doesn't care about it. Dark Yugi and Anzu go to the museum where they see the tablet, and Dark Yugi realizes the pharaoh from 3,000 years ago is him. He is his trapped soul inside the Millennium Puzzle. Ishizu warns Dark Yugi that a battle will approach, and the last of the Millennium items will be gathered here. Yeah, there's no you must win for the fate of the world going on. Dark Yugi just wants to regain his memory. He doesn't want to tell Yugi just yet, but he can't keep secrets from him, as with their deck they will fight as one. But then they meet up with Mai and find that Kaiba is holding a Duel Monsters tournament. In this tournament, you must play with a duel disc, and the loser will give up their rarest card. The place of battle is Domino City, and Battle City is set to begin. It's amazing how quickly Kaiba was able to set all this up. I guess that's what happens when you're rich. It's here we meet our villain, Merrick Ishtar, who we find out is Ishizu's brother. What does he want? Well, that's complicated. Yugi and Jinochi both agree to enter the Battle City tournament. Yugi wants to face Kaiba fair and square, and Jinochi is upset because he wasn't invited. In fact, he's only allowed to qualify because the shopkeeper, who is a ghoul, notices that his rarest card is Red Eyes, and thus changes his ranking to 5 stars. I mean, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't be able to do that from there, but whatever, gotta get Jinochi into the tournament. Just don't have the ranking system at all. On his way home, Jinochi is confronted by the Rare Hunters. So are we just using the English name now, Viz? Even though you had no problem using the Japanese name. So much for consistency, eh? Anyway, the ghouls use a counterfeit Exodia to beat Jinochi and steal his Red Eyes. The two Yugis get ready to duel. Yugi isn't sure what his other self desires, but is determined to help him see it through. Yugi and Mai meet up again where we see some old faces are in the tournament. Kaiba explains the rules of the tournament once again. You must get 6 locator cards to determine where the finals will take place. Only 8 will get to the finals. Always thought it was strange how Duelist Kingdom only had 4 finalists. Jinochi confronts the man who stole his Red Eyes, and upon learning his plight, Dark Yugi decides to duel to reclaim Red Eyes. Okay, Viz is trying now to explain that the Rare Hunters are the combat division of the ghouls, even though I don't think that's actually true, but I guess we'll go with it. Yugi refuses to listen to Jinochi's advice, because it's unfair for him to know what his opponent's strategy will be. Sure, I guess. Not that it matters. Yugi figures out his strategy and promptly dismantles it. But Merrick shows how he can mind control his minions with the Millennium Rod, and tells Yugi that they will meet, and of the God cards. Yugi is given a puzzle card in Jinochi's Red Eyes, and though he offers it back to his friend, Jinochi turns it down. He won't accept it until he can prove himself a true duelist, and promises to duel Yugi for the card back. Next fight is Jinochi vs. Esperoba, who defeats Ryuzaki easily with psychic powers. Jinochi makes a fool of himself by not knowing the super expert rules. Typical dumb Jinochi moment. One difference is Roba claims to be channeling the spirit of Pegasus, who, as you may remember, is dead in the manga. Once again, Viz, you used the Japanese name, even though you previously used the English name. Consistency! Jinochi is able to figure out that Roba is not actually using ASP, but has someone spying on his cards. Roba is able to summon Jinzo, who has the special ability to negate trap cards. That's pretty useful. Through some tenacity and luck, Jinochi emerges victorious and gets Jinzo for his deck. Not bad. Robo says the reason he wins is so his little brothers won't get bullied. Jinochi sympathizes as he knows what it's like to fight for a younger sibling. All's well that ends well, and Jinochi is one step closer to being a true duelist. Kaiba then beats up a jerk with Obelisk, which is just him stroking his ego, which is typical Kaiba. Merrick realizes that Shizu knew Kaiba would hold the tournament and draw him out, but decides it does not matter. Merrick wants to face Yugi first. Why is he priority number 1? Merrick has a personal vendetta against the Pharaoh's vessel, as he believes he is the one who killed Merrick's father. The Yugis return to the card shop where they find Pandora waiting for him, who also uses the Dark Magician, so this next duel will determine who is the true master of the Dark Magician. Pandora created a very unique arena to beat Yugi in, yet once again Yugi is put in a life or death situation, as the loser of this duel will have their legs get cut off. 4Kids changed this to send you to the Shadow Realm.
Help! Somebody save me from the harmless dark energy discs that won't kill me!
Yugi is able to once again decipher the cheating taking place and is able to summon his Dark Magician first. But Pandora gets his own on the field. It goes pretty back and forth for a while, but we see the difference in how they treat their Dark Magicians. Pandora treats his as a disposable pawn while Yugi values his servants, which is probably better than how most Egyptian pharaohs treated their servants. Well, they didn't have servants, they had slaves. The effects of the Dark Magic Curtain allows both players to use it? No, that's not true. I've used that card. Yugi summons Dark Magician Girl. Yes, the card that launched 1,000 fanarts. Don't believe me? Yeah, nearly 7,000 pictures of her nude. That's like more than any other character in this series. Dark Magician Girl defeats Pandora, who tries to cheat his way out of getting his legs cut off, but Merrick decides to make sure that happens. Yugi retakes control and saves Pandora because that's the kind of guy he is. Through Merrick, Yugi learns of the Pharaoh, and that Merrick desires to kill said Pharaoh and become the king himself. But Yugi now realizes what his other self is fighting for, to regain his lost memories. He hints that Yugi will next face Osiris, and pretty much leaves Pandora to commit suicide. Jeez, that's dark. Anzu, Bakura, and Shigoroku search for their friends, and Anzu notes that they are drifting apart, as friends typically do. They do meet up with Jinochi, who reveals that his sister is still recovering from her operation, and he wants her to be able to see him win, but Jinochi is tricked into a duel with Haga, who hasn't stopped being a cheater. Honda and Ryuji travel to pick up Shizuka. Hazu wants Shizuka to be there for her brother when he gets to the finals. The anime put these three in a love triangle, which is probably done to give Honda some more volume as a character. I do like how Honda tells Shizuka that her brother is fighting for her. She's scared to take off her bandages because she might still be blind, but Honda tells her that she and Jinochi must give each other courage. But Ryuji is right to say that Shizuka must make that choice to remove the bandages herself. Jinochi and Haga duel. Haga is able to gain control and summons his Insect Queen, but Jinochi is able to mount a comeback and is able to win, claim a puzzle card, and the Insect Queen. As Kaiba continues to search for the God cards, Merrick arrives in Battle City and takes a duel disc for himself. As the two Yugis talk, Yugi tells Dark Yugi that while he's happy to have him as a friend, he knows he can't rely on him forever, and that he must learn to fight for himself. Merrick's doll servant confronts Yugi. Dark Yugi knows that he has a God card, but that he will defeat it. The two duel and Yugi's able to put up a valiant fight, but eventually Merrick summons Osiris the Sky Dragon, which is actually erroneous. Osiris was the god of the dead, not the sky. The God card is Yugi's ultimate challenge. How can he win against such a mighty foe, especially when its special ability allows it to gain 1,000 attack points of every card in its user's hand? Dark Yugi is so stunned he's frozen in fear at its immense power. First time he's ever been that rattled by something. Yugi falls to his knees. He can't win. But Kaiba appears and tells him that there is a way to defeat God and Yugi will find a way. Yugi is able to draw the key card and traps Osiris in an infinite loop that forces Merrick to keep drawing cards, and per the rule, when you run out of cards to draw, you automatically lose. Thus Yugi gets a puzzle card and a God card, thus putting him on equal footing with Kaiba and Merrick. But Merrick gets the last laugh as he tells Yugi that his friends are now targets for the ghouls. What's great about this is that all the plot points start converging here. Yugi gets to see Kaiba's God card in action, and Merrick has arrived in Domino City. As Jinochi searches for another duelist, Dark Bakura senses a new Millennium item, and thus takes over. It's here that we establish that Bakura has an occult deck, which is pretty creepy. Jinochi will duel Ryota. It really feels like Jinochi is, for the most part, just dueling whoever Yugi beat in Duelist Kingdom to show that he is a better duelist now. Of course, he forgot to take out the Parasite card, which is typical dumb Jinochi comedy. Outside, as Merrick prepares to make his move, Dark Bakura confronts him. We see Merrick has a connection to the Pharaoh's tomb. Dark Bakura wants the Pharaoh's memories. Merrick just wants to kill Yugi. I think Takahashi realized it would be beneficial to team these two up for the time being. Meanwhile, Jinochi is forced to confront that he has always chased Yugi's shadow as a duelist, and here is no different. This duel is good at progressing Jinochi's character arc, and giving closure to Ryota's, particularly the bit about his missing father. We get to see just how twisted Dark Bakura is as he purposefully injures himself so that the real Bakura will be injured, and thus be able to be used against Yugi. Through tenacity, Jinochi is able to defeat Ryota. Ryota takes value in the Fisherman card because he believes it's the soul of his father. Jinochi sympathizes, but Ryota realizes he doesn't need a card to remember his father, and gives it to Jinochi. A nice moment to be sure. Outside, Merrick takes the wounded Bakura to Yugi's friends as he prepares to make his move to capture Jinochi and Anzu. Yugi and Kaiba make their way to the arena. Kaiba decides to continue being a smug little prick because he wouldn't beat Kaiba if he wasn't. Kaiba is still a massive jerk to Jinochi, declaring that he will disqualify him as soon as he sees him. It seems like Kaiba looks down on Jinochi like a lowly commoner. Out of nowhere, a ghoul makes it so that Kaiba can't summon his god card. Somehow. Yugi and Kaiba now face the Mask of Light and Darkness, which can actually apply to both teams. Two unlikely pairs dueling each other, but in the case of Yugi and Kaiba, who is the light and who is the darkness? I wonder. Of course, the whole drama of the duel is that the masked players work together seamlessly, while Kaiba refuses to cooperate with Yugi because he's a jerk. Slowly, Yugi and Kaiba are able to gain the upper hand, as Kaiba is repeatedly in Yugi's debt because he still saves him from defeat. Yeah, maybe stop being a huge jerk-ass, Kaiba. Kaiba does catch on to the benefits of having a partner, and manages to turn the two masked players against each other. I guess that's his way of helping. Through some awesome teamwork, they were able to summon Obelisk and pretty much win the match, but Merrick takes control of the remaining ghoul and taunts Yugi to find him. Kaiba and Yugi share their philosophies. What Kaiba tells Yugi is something he'll have to struggle with. Kaiba wants to see Yugi's answer, and so they head to find Jinochi. Merrick has brainwashed Anzu and Jinochi, and Rishit has stolen 12 puzzle cards, so they cheated their way to the finals. Kaiba brings up the point to Yugi that he may have to duel his friend to win. Of course, the manga actually explains how Honda knows Jinochi is at the pier because he recognizes the boat horn. The situation is very similar in the anime, except here he has Anzu ready to swallow a pill that will kill her on the spot, which is somehow worse than crushing her. The loser of this death duel will plummet to the bottom of the sea and drown. Even Kaiba is appalled. I don't know about that. You were pretty bad, Kaiba. But the ghouls capturing Mokuba put an end to Kaiba's interference. Yugi gambles that the Red Eyes will snap Jinochi out of his brainwashing, but the duel begins, and Jinochi quickly takes the lead with spell cards that directly attack your opponent. Dark Yugi's words do start to get through to Jinochi a little bit, but it's here that Yugi decides to take another step out of his other self's shadow, as he is able to reach Jinochi's heart in a secret test by seeing if he would take the Red Eyes, but Jinochi manages to win the fight within, showing that he's still in there, and Yugi taking out the puzzle shows that he's ready to step up as his own man, and not rely on his other self all the time. The drama and tension is high. Kaiba rescuing Mokuba by drawing a card and throwing it into the hand of the ghoul is actually kind of funny, and a blow to his ego since it was his blue eyes. This is pretty much the culmination of Yugi and Jinochi's character arcs up to this point, and seeing Jinochi fight out the brainwashing is pretty satisfying. I know it's a cliche, but it's done well here. The moment where Jinochi regains his mind is really nicely done in the anime. Well, the Japanese version. Yugi, of course, isn't going to sacrifice his friend and prefers to go down. The way the anime and manga have Jinochi deplete his life points is done a little differently. In the anime, they make up some rule that allows Red Eyes to deplete Jinochi's life points, but in the manga, it's implied Red Eyes does Jinochi a favor. You know, the cards have a heart and all. Both have Jinochi spare Yugi with his ki. While the manga has the gang arrive just as the anchors fall down, who saves Jinochi is very different. In the manga, it's Kaiba who does it, albeit until he's sure Jinochi's probably drowned, which is pretty bad. And I think the anime made a good change in having Shizuka do it, although Kaiba does acknowledge Jinochi as a decent duelist in both versions. Yugi's friends arrive and Dark Yugi acknowledges that Yugi took a stand for himself and knows the day will come when Yugi surpasses him, and that day is coming sooner than either of them think. I will admit the way the manga does Shizuka removing her bandages is superior, as it feels more dramatic and tense, but both versions work in their own right. Kaiba has even seen the answer that he's been looking for, and all that's left for now is the Battle City Finals. All the plot points are wrapped up, and now everybody's going to meet at the finals. We see the last finalist, Dark Bakura, who defeated his familiar opponent off screen. And there's something he does that I just have to play.
Your soul is mine.
The main tournament is over. It is time now to begin the finals. And we'll stop there for now. I'll save the analysis of the characters for the next video since we still got the finals to do. And we still got quite a bit to go through with this arc. And unfortunately, from what I understand, this arc took so long that people started to lose interest. Or so I read. Look forward to Yu-Gi-Oh! Part 4, the Battle City Finals, coming very soon.